The one guy that needs a big year this year is defensive tackle Fletcher Cox, okay? Last year, probably one of the worst years of his career. You lose this guy in the lineup, you're kind of worried a little bit. I think this year it's a lot different. If you lose Fletch, you still got, you have Javon Hargrave, Hassan Ridgeway. You still have Malik Jackson that will pretty much go slide up right next to Javon Hargrave if that does happen, okay? You know what I mean? Fletch just has to have a better year because you know what? It's when defensive tackles get paid a lot of money, especially a $100 million man in Fletcher Cox. This guy has not even taken a pay cut. He's probably one of the only Eagles that either hasn't restructured or taken a pay cut, and I'm surprised they have not done it yet, okay? In the second Dallas Cowboys game, I think it was the second Cowboys game when Fletch got hurt, and we thought he was pretty much going to be out. It's just crazy that he can come back into a game on the first play and cause a fumble or, be that disruptive. And he can, you know what I mean? Like, look back in 2018, and we faced the Rams and, Aaron Donald, we had taken care of Aaron Donald like it was nothing, double team him because he really doesn't have anybody next to him because of injury, or they just don't have a good player that plays next to him at the other interior defensive tackle position. Okay. With Fletch, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, Aaron Donald's a totally different pass. He's a totally different pass rusher. They're two different pass rushers, but Fletch is the second best defensive tackle in the league, regardless of what anyone says. But the problem is that you got to have a guy next to you that's going to be disruptive as well. And you go out and you pay an underrated defensive tackle in Javon Hargrave, the grave digger. And give him and make him the sixth highest paid defensive tackle in the league, and this makes our defensive line pretty much 3 or 4 guys that are getting over $10 million. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, and actually that might be it. I think it's only 3 guys, but Fletch needs to have a big year. Okay, the Philadelphia Eagles have shored up the secondary a lot better now. I know we lost Malcolm Jenkins. We're moving Jalen Mills to safety. Rodney McLeod is back there with him. You signed Darius Slay. You signed Nickel Roby. And you know what? You made a lot of changes. No Ronald Darby anymore. You know what I mean? We dealt with so many different guys and so many different corners have come into this defense because of injuries and other aspects as well. And Fletch is one of my favorite players. He really is. And when he really, I want to see what teams do against Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox, who they double, whatever it is. You know what I mean? And plus you have Malik Jackson that's coming back. And obviously I think Malik Jackson is going to play here for one more year. And then that's pretty much going to be it for him. The Eagles will probably get some cap space most likely on the last year of his contract. I don't think Malik Jackson is here to stay. I think after this year he'll pretty much be gone. Unless they figure something out, because he really he's a little bit of chunk change. I think it was 3 years, $30 million, something like that. I forgot what the deal was at the time we signed him, but unfortunately he got hurt in the first game. I don't even think Malik Jackson's been hurt his whole career. But when you see Fletcher Cox, man, he's got to take those one-on-ones, take advantage of them. And if Hargrave is another guy, it's only going to make him more successful, okay? I don't think D tackles are ever worth $100 million, okay, in the league. Okay, there's some guys that are good, but if you don't have someone next to you, like in 2017 when Timmy Jernigan was next to Fletcher Cox, when Timmy Jernigan was actually healthy and one of the best defensive tackles against the run and a top 10 pass rusher, you know what I mean? It was just really hard to zone in on one guy in that interior. And you know what? Guards have a huge problem with a guy like Fletcher Cox. And like I said, guys never took a pay cut. Guys never been restructured, you know what I mean? And you know what? Fletch is, 29, going to be turning 30, you know what I mean? So I think he's turning 29 or he's turning 30 soon. I don't know yet. I know he's still in his 20s. But you know what? It's going to be a matter of time. Okay, hopefully Javon Hargrave is going to be that next guy for us to build around in the trenches as well. And I think that was a very underrated pickup. I know Steelers fans are pretty pissed off about it, but I was very happy. One of the most underrated defensive tackles. And he picked, Javon wanted to play here because he's playing next to Fletcher Cox. And why? Because the pressure is unbelievable. Okay, 2017, we had a very good pass rush. It was fantastic. To the point where our corners either didn't really have to do too much, or it made it easy for our corners to get picks and easy deflections. Okay, but having Fletch healthy and having him out there and having a guy next to him now with so much depth, defensive tackle, we're fine. Okay, Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, Malik Jackson, Hassan Ridgeway, and whoever else they want to add to it. Okay, I think we're perfect at defensive tackle right now. And Fletcher Cox needs to get in there and he has to do his thing. I mean, that's it. I want to see those sack numbers come up. I know the sack numbers aren't really important. It's all about the pressures, because you could be giving pressure and helping another guy get a sack and do stuff like that. So it always helps. To me, with this defense, as long as you're getting pressure, you're doing your job. You're giving pressure, you're always doing your job, regardless, even if the numbers weren't there. There were some years that Brandon Graham had his numbers weren't really that good to be in the Pro Bowl, but his pressures were very consistent. Always chasing the quarterback, always tackling running backs behind the line of scrimmage, but the pressure is where it counts with this defense, okay? And we need it. And I think this pass rush could be better than 2017, depending on if we add somebody else at defensive end or whatever. So I don't really know, but Fletch, man, he needs to have a monster year this year. He needs to help out this defensive line. I understand, he can't do it by himself, and I've learned that Fletch cannot do it by himself. He can't do it with having a practice squad defensive tackle next to him or nobody off the street next to him. He needs to have a prime guy next to him. I think I was very surprised when Javon Hargrave got. We even signed a defensive tackle to big money, and you already see how Howie Roseman favors. He starts in the trenches, and that's where it starts, man. Other than getting your quarterback, you're building around your quarterback, but you're starting. You need to solidify the offensive line, defensive line, and do all that. So that's where it's really important. And I'm excited, man, for Fletcher Cox. I'm excited for this whole defensive line. I mean, it's going to be something spectacular, but Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox next to each other, plus Malik Jackson and Hassan Ridgeway did get hurt last year, but it showed a lot of flashes that he could be very disruptive, and I've seen it. And I'm glad that they re-signed him for 1 year on a pretty much a know-nothing deal. So, you know what I mean? So we'll see what happens, but let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about Fletcher Cox. Does he need to have a better year? Is it going to help having a Javon Hargrave with Malik Jackson behind next to him? And that's pretty much it. So I'll see you guys later. Shake Squad up. Fly, fly.